Hello and welcome to Ignite, Awaken, Expand podcast. My name is Carrie Michelle, and today I have my love, my beloved, my partner, Rick Moschel here today. I'm so excited for us to just have a great conversation together.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So of course, our first podcast together has to be on relationships because we're in one and it's pretty freaking amazing. I feel like it's pretty epic, and we've experienced the opposite in other relationships. So just sharing what we've learned and what we do to really have a relationship where there's just this mutual love, respect, and all the good things to just have a really thriving relationship. So we just want to run a jam on that with you today. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So I just thought we would just dive right into it and just share what has worked for us in really making sure that we both feel so seen, loved, and heard. So share some of the things that you feel like has worked, and then I'll add on to it and we'll just riff on that.
Okay. I'd say probably one of the most important things that I've realized about relationships in general is starting out with yourself. And for me personally, I finally went in and did the work on truly falling in love with myself. And I feel like over time, I kept pushing the envelope on trying to find a partner and find love and find everything that I found now, yet I had no love for myself. And after going in deep and truly understanding my personal matrix, my personal story, and literally getting into a space where I believe I actually truly fell in love with myself. And I think that was probably the most important point, because when I fell in love with myself, I actually kind of joked about it as in I didn't need a woman. Like I actually was so happy and content with the life that I lived that that was something that I didn't need. And that's when my soulmate dropped into my lap. And so, I mean, one of the things that I also, I'd like to talk about to people myself is that, are you in love with yourself?
Yeah.
Because to me, if you do not love yourself, if you don't have a true relationship with yourself, how can you let somebody else in to a relationship with you? That's probably one of the most important things that I've realized. Also going along with that is learning love languages, which I had no idea what love languages were. I had no idea what the 5 love languages were. And so I realized that I was physical touch, and that I was quality time, and that, over talking with my partner, that my partner was quality time and physical touch. So right off the bat, we knew how to love each other. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of couples don't even know to go over those things. And how can you love somebody if you truly don't know how they're supposed to be loved? You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the one of the main things is just knowing how to love your partner. And then also, communication is, I would say, the number one. And I mean, anywhere from growing up in houses without true communication to seeing, couples that, that you can feed off of that actually do communicate. And you see, those are the most thriving relationships that I've noticed, and it's not being afraid to communicate anything in your life and not allowing it to boil up as a volcano that is waiting to erupt, that erupts and turns into a situation. So communication is one of the large factors, I'd say, for me. Thoughtfulness, giving, receiving, truly owning your triggers. We all have triggers in our life. We all have had childhoods. We've grown up, and through that process, you sometimes have these triggers as to when you were a child that you've held on to that you don't even know are there. And somebody can challenge you, your partner can challenge you in a certain way, and it can trigger you, and that can turn into something big. So it's actually knowing your triggers so that you can feel into those triggers as they hit and truly understand them a little bit deeper. Other than that, I mean, one of the big things with us is play. I absolutely love to create play, create fun. We're never too old to be children. I mean, one of the large factors that came up with me, from the beginning, was just telling you that I'm an 8-year-old till the day I die. You know what I mean? And I truly mean that. I think of normal life in a mature way, yet I have fun in everything I do, and bringing play, you know, whether it's hula hooping or skipping or jogging or racing to the top of something, or, you know, creating, you know, just fun with your partner at all times. Just that young laughter, that young feeling kind of just creates a very loving environment, a very open environment for people to feel, for the couples to feel. Intimacy is a huge one. You know, I love absolutely being intimate with my partner. Having those moments where it's just the two of us, and it's, you know, it's you know, one of our favorite things is, you know, happened since we met was we love to gaze. We love to gaze in each other's eyes. I mean, whether it's, you know, across the table at a restaurant, sitting at the table at the house, even at the gym, if we're at the gym, we'll gaze at each other's eyes for 2-3 minutes, just reassuring each other, you know, how much we're thinking about each other and how much we feel about each other. And don't ever be, you know, one thing, you know, I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, and I don't like to be too much of a man to be a loving partner. And sometimes men try to be so manly that they forget that all we're here to do is truly love our partner. And if you're in the right relationship, I believe that the more you love them, the more they're going to love you. And it's a complete give and take. So those are a couple of the factors that I can think of right off the top of my head, for sure.
Yeah, so you shared some good stuff. So first of all, I want to touch on some of the things that you shared. So one of them, the first one, is that if you want to have a healthy, thriving relationship, it starts with you first. You have to do your internal work and really understand yourself to be able to really attract in a partner who is also somebody who knows themselves, because you are always going to attract a vibrational match of who you are. So if you have this whole mess going on internally that you have not been able to look at, you're going to attract in somebody who is similar to that. And then it becomes this whole shit show of a relationship, which is most people, unfortunately, because what they think is that if they just attract in a partner, then everything will get better. And it doesn't work that way. And it really truly is about taking ownership of yourself, the experiences that have happened to you in your life, and really work through those so that you're a solid human. That it's not about perfection, because we definitely come in with our stories and our things that have happened to us in our past. But the communication piece and the radical ownership of our own experiences is the piece that can help you navigate those things. But if you don't have that solid, firm foundation of who you are, what you like, what you don't like, having your boundaries, really having that self-worth of what you're worth, of how you want to be treated, not necessarily, we all say we want to be treated a certain way, but if you don't believe that you're worthy of that, you're not going to attract in somebody that will treat you that way. So that is number one. And it is why we were able to attract in the relationship that we have with each other, is because we both did a lot of internal work, a lot of internal reflection. I worked with coaches, I did certifications, I was going on this whole intense path. You went on your own unique path of self-exploration, and then here we've met. So yeah, you touched on that. Is there anything else you want to share on that before we go on to some of the other topics?
No, well, you kind of you kind of mentioned about the almost vibrations, you know, the vibrational match, and that's the thing. To me, if you really haven't done that work, that your vibrational match is still on a low level, and so people will invite in, you know, somebody who's maybe good looking, or they think is, you know, something that's a speak piece for their friends, or something that they think might work. But because they're at that vibration, it's still at a low level, it doesn't work in the end, because there's no true vibrational match. It's a low vibration. That's not where the match happens. So really being in tune with your vibration in general, and vibration is, you know, when you're happy, that's high vibration. When you're in love with yourself, that's high vibration. When you understand your personal matrix, that's a high vibration. When you are in the story of the yesterday, and in the stories of what hasn't happened right for you, and what doesn't go your way, and the anger and you know, and the blame and all the stuff that you might not have worked with, that is the vibration that's low vibration. When you're in that vibration, you're going to cling on to anything that makes you feel better. And usually it's not something that makes you feel better. It's just something that's filling a void. And that's because you haven't truly worked on yourself to actually fill that void in yourself. And to me, when you fill that void in yourself, that's when all of a sudden, all you have to do, all that's left is to love the person in front of you. It makes it so much easier when you're not having that internal dialogue of a battle at all times. There's no more battle. It's a true understanding. That's when I feel you can grow the most with your partner.
Yeah. Because if you don't do your work, say, for example, you have a really intense father wound, for a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. If you haven't really addressed that, you're going to attract in a partner who is going to match that wound. Or if you have a mother wound, so you're going to attract in the experiences that you haven't really fully navigated and worked through your partners. So, and it's not fun. There's an opportunity to heal the wounds. So there's value to those relationships. And I definitely attracted in a lot of those before meeting you. And each time I was able to go deeper into the healing of those wounds because I was committed to my growth. And also I didn't want to stay in those types of relationships. It's not fun. There's a lot of hurt that happens in those relationships, and it's on purpose because we aren't going to heal anything that doesn't give us a ping in our system. If once it hurts, we have this opportunity to really go into it and shift that and change that. So yeah, another thing that you talked about is communication. And I honestly feel like that is number one, as far as once you're in a relationship, if you want to have a healthy, thriving relationship, that has to be always top priority, is having healthy communication. So a lot of people will communicate with each other, but it's not healthy. It's a lot of talking at the person instead of actually really truly having this communication where it's a listening and it's a receiving and it's a giving and it's coming from a heart-centered place. And that's something that we have done from day one, which is so freaking epic. And
men, real quick, just remember that sarcastic is not a language of affection. I want you to know that you're not hanging out with your buddies. You are with the woman that you love. So when you come from a place of sarcasm, there's truth to all sarcasm.
There's truth to it.
And that will eat at a relationship. So I just want to make that point very quickly, because I grew up in a place where sarcasm was a second language. And I realized very quickly that in a relationship, there's not really a lot of room for sarcasm, because it will bring in that slow volcano waiting to erupt.
Well, it's a passive aggressive way of saying something that, like, there's a level of truth to it, whether the person wants to actually believe that or not, there is. And so it's just being so mindful of, is this something that is actually nice to say to my partner, and really just being so mindful of the words that you speak to the person that you're with. It is a frequency and it's a vibration, and it does make an impact on their body and their, just their psyche and the way that the relationship. And so with a masculine and feminine relationship, and it doesn't even matter whether it's gay, lesbian, heterosexual, every relationship has a masculine and a feminine relationship. And it doesn't matter whether it's woman or man. But in the feminine, whoever is dominantly in the feminine, for that person to feel safe, they have to feel loved. That for them to be able to open, they have to feel safe. And if they don't feel safe, everything closes down. Their emotions, their energy, their sexuality, everything closes down. And then the masculine's frustrated with why are we not connected? Why are you being so resentful? And so when you're constantly aware of what you're saying, in particular, there's lots of things in what you're doing, but when we're talking about communication, words matter, and they really do create impact. And we've been together for a couple of years now, and it's always interesting. Anytime we have something that we're navigating through, I'm always in awe at how well we do it, because we established good communication from the very beginning. And it was because we felt safe with each other, and we really respected each other, and we were very clear about what our boundaries are. And sometimes we forget. certain things. And so we remind each other, hey, I'm actually not okay with that. But it's coming from a place of love rather than aggression. We're not talking at each other. We're talking to each other. There's this constant giving and receiving in the communication.
Right. And when it comes to that, a point to make is, what is true communication?
Right.
True communication is two people actually talking about something. And I really feel, and I feel you feel the same way, is you're standing in their shoes real quick.
Yeah.
Like, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Why would they bring something like this up? When a man says something to a woman, well, and they yell it out and
Defensive.
it's very defensive. Is that true communication? Or is it, this is what's affecting me right now. This is on my mind, and I have to tell you, I have to get this off my chest. And instead of the partner reacting to that, the partner is saying, well, wait a second, let me feel into that. Let me actually step in your shoes, understand who my partner is, what their past history is. If you know your partner well enough, you know their childhood, you know who they are, feeling into where that's coming from in them, and then saying to yourself, is this valid?
Yeah.
Is this a valid reason? Is this a valid something they're coming up with? And if it is or isn't, it's true communication as to the way that you communicate back to them. And that's actual communication. You really have to have an open view, an open outlook on both sides of it. You can't just say, I don't trust, I don't believe in what you're saying, and I don't agree with that. No, it's not about not agreeing with that. It's about truly feeling into, why is she saying that? And where is she coming from? And is there any truth to that? And if there is some truth to that, don't be so manly where you can't admit that you're wrong about something. Or if you still want to disagree with it, just be like, you want to know something? I don't agree with that, but we can agree to not agree and still go on with our lives with still that high vibration, that love, that support in it. But to me, just the true outlook from each side and really feeling into it. And I feel like that's something that you've taught me over time, is feeling into it, like taking the time to feel into the subject. And think to yourself, not just reacting, but think to yourself, does my thought serve me in a positive way? Yes or no? Is what she's trying to get across, does she have a good point into where that's coming from? And then just look as two people sitting down that love each other and coming out with a good answer at the end of the topic, instead of just eating each other, and then all of a sudden there's that bomb again.
Yeah, it's basically what you're pointing to is just having a relationship where you're listening to understand rather than listening to respond or to get defensive. And so that's something, that a quality that you just hold so well and embody so well is really, really allowing me to express my experience, even if it's irrational or it's coming from one of my parts or one of my wounds. You truly listen to really understand me. And then speak your experience. And then you speak, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. And so then we have this beautiful conversation where we can go back and forth. So there's so many layers to the communication, to healthy communication, because there is this importance of really taking radical ownership of your experience too. So as you're communicating, if there's something that has been activating for one of us, that we own, that this is mine. I'm feeling a certain way and this is mine. Yes, this is like this, we're in a relationship and this involves you, but this is all about me. And so taking that responsibility, and I'm feeling this way, and let me express why. And so it's not a throwing it on you, like this is your fault, or vice versa. We really own that, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And yeah, this is mine. And I need to have a conversation with you because I'm feeling a certain way, and just really having those clearing conversations so that our energy is clean with each other. Because what ends up happening is that a lot of relationships, something kind of annoying happens and you just brush it under the rug because it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to talk about it because then my partner's going to blow up. They're not going to understand. And so then it just builds up. And all of a sudden there's this huge mound underneath the rug. And then you end up blowing up on the partner and they don't even know why, because you've never had a conversation around like the thing that was bugging you. And so just having those conversations, I've said this to you so many times, baby, I just need to have a conversation. I need to have a clearing conversation of something that's coming up for me. And you're so amazing. You're like, all right, like, let's do it. Let's have this conversation.
And a good point to that is a word that you mentioned in there is listening.
Yeah.
And that's
Huge.
one of the most important things. 2 words, actually. One is listening and never assume. You know,
Yeah.
when you truly listen, you know, a lot of people react to a story before it's even done.
Mhm.
And you haven't even heard where it's going. And you just, and you have that blow up.
Yeah.
And it's literally one of the most important things in any relationship, whether it's with your family, your friends, your love, anybody who it is, it's listening. Just listen. Just quit being the person that has to have a say in everything and just listen to their full story before you react, before you think about it. And also with listening, don't ever assume this is what they mean. Don't ever assume that it's what you think is what they mean by that.
And also, don't feel like you have to fix it.
Right.
Some of the most healing, most powerful experiences for me is when I'm going through something and it's mine. Sometimes it's not even necessarily something that we're experiencing together. It's just something that I'm feeling and I'm processing through. And for you to just listen and not try to have a solution, it's like, it's pure medicine for my soul, because I get to have my experience and it doesn't need to be changed. It just, you just witness it, you listen. And that's like, that's the best for a woman. So like any man, like definitely do that with your woman, you know, just listen without needing to fix it.
Definition of a partner right there. What is the definition of a partner?
Yeah.
That's part of the definition of a partner. It's just support your partner.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you know, as literally what she's saying, you know, we don't always need an answer. We just need to be in here. It's what it is it's the 2 of you in this. And if it's the 2 of you in this, the deepest, darkest secrets have to be open in that conversation between the 2 of you. So if she needs to vent something, if you need to vent something on me, I'm here for you, you know, and I love to listen. That's my favorite thing. Sometimes my favorite thing is to listen and not have to say a fucking word. Because that's really important.
Well, and with that, what the most important piece is your presence. So when someone is listening, you like really truly listening with your presence. And that's something that women can totally pick up on. If her man is actually listening, that to me personally, it's because my love language is quality time. That is something that will shut me down real quick, is if I feel like you, and then also anybody, honestly, if I'm having a conversation with the person and they're not present with me, I'm done. I'm gonna end the conversation. I've done this with you, where, you know, you've just happened to be texting somebody and I'll stop the conversation and wait until you're present.
I have been caught, yes.
And so, but that's me honoring my needs and my boundaries. And that's something that we respect. And so, like for you, it's not as big of a deal. Physical touch is your number one. So that's, yes, quality time is important to you, but that's my number one. And so let's kind of, since I'm kind of talking about love languages, let's kind of jam on that a little bit. So just for anybody that's watching this, if you've never heard about the love languages, go check it out. I can't think of who the author is, but if you just Google 5 love languages, you'll be able to find a quiz and be able to, you know, find out what your love language is, what your number one is. We all have all the love languages, but there is an order and a priority to what your love language order is. So for me, like what Rick said, mine is quality time, number one, and then physical touch is right underneath it. Then there's gifts is another one. Words of affirmation and acts of service. So those are the 5 love languages. And then Rick's number one is physical touch. His second one, just right underneath it, is quality time. So we're really compatible in that way. You don't have to have exactly the same love languages to be compatible, but it's important to know what your partner's love language is. And I recommend finding out your family members, your friends, because then you can make sure that you meet their love languages as well. But if you don't know your partner's love language, and let's say that their love language is completely different than yours. So for example, my number 5, the last one for me is gifts. So if he was just giving me gifts all the time, but never giving me quality time, I wouldn't feel loved. And if that was his number 1, he wouldn't understand. He would think, I don't understand. I'm giving you love because I'm giving you all these gifts. So if you don't know your partner's love language, then, and if you're not exactly the same, you can miss the mark and the person can feel not loved. So making sure that you know that so that you can make sure that you meet that, not just once a month, not once a week, always with your partner. So when I'm with Rick, you can't see it, but I have my foot on his foot. Like it's now automatic to just be touching you because I know that is super important to you, to always have like some type of physical touch. You know that quality time is so important to me, and you put your phone away when we're at a restaurant. It's like so sexy to me when you put the phone in your car console and like fully leave it in the car like that. Like, I feel so loved.
Even the times that I've gotten, that I've had to even check something on my phone and she gave me a look and she stopped. I don't get angry.
Yeah.
I understand very quickly what my girl needs, what my love needs. And to me, that's more important than texting somebody or looking up information real quick. I know I can do that at any time, so it's also really not holding anything so personal as to, what do you get to do? The thing that you get to win from this is love from your girl. So why is it not easy to do things?
That was one of the lights. So what were you saying just now? Because that was super important.
It was about pretty much not being angry at putting away your phone or just being completely locked into what your lover needs. You know what I mean? Even when we're at the table and, I'm one of those guys where I was a restaurant guy, I was a bar guy. So I like to watch a restaurant work. I like to watch a bar work. So when I'm sitting there, I usually try not to be in a position where everything's in front of me because there's so much stimulation. And when we're in conversation, if she's looking right into my eyes and I'm looking right into her eyes, and if I veer off onto something that's going on over here, she'll stop. And I quickly understand that I know what's going on, and it's more fun to me. It's never anger, because I know how much that means to you. And if it means that much to you, I'm all in. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. The bottom line is you have to be all in on love. If you absolutely love the woman you're with, why are you not all in on that love for her? And the more, if you're with the right person, the more that you're all in on that love, the more that love is going to come back. Right. I kind of joke about it. It makes me laugh sometimes because I'm like, I never understood that I could love somebody so much and actually get it back tenfold. Like I've never felt what that felt like. And I haven't been with bad people. It was just wasn't the right person to give me back exactly what I needed because we hadn't done all the work. Well, now we have 2 people that have done the work. And the more that I love you, the more that I love her, the more that I get it back, and that's truly special for me, So to me, knowing that love language, going back to love language, knowing that love language and being completely in, like being in, I'm all in on her love language of honing in eye to eye and knowing that when it's quality time, when it's our time, it's our time. And she also gives me plenty of time when I need my time. So that's the thing. It's not only about having quality time. Not every minute has to be quality time with that person. It's not quantity, it's quality, 100%. And that's the thing is she understands that. And when I need time, she gives me that time. When she needs time on her own, I give her that time. But then when we are together, it is the best time every moment that we're with each other.
I love that you just shared that because that's not something that you brought up, but really having that healthy independence in a relationship. So there's this commitment, there's this devotion to each other. And when we're together, you're all in, that kind of a relationship where when the partnership is together, they're 100% together, but then they also have their own experiences outside of each other. So they don't just merge into one. they are a unit, and they are in relationship with each other, but then they also have their own personal experiences that they are a part of, and that are theirs. Because then it really creates this well-roundedness of I'm me, we have we, and it gets to be both of that.
And it creates you to miss somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you have
Yeah,
your
that's
life,
good.
when you have your life and she has her life, and then you have a life together, and your life doesn't have to be a ton of friends and all this stuff. It could just be you with your little amount of time to
Camping.
do whatever you like to do in your spare time, whatever your hobbies are, whatever you like to do. It's just, it gives you that time away to actually think about each other. And then when you come back together, it's that rejoicing of that feeling of just like, oh, I missed you, even if it was for a day, like I missed you. And and then allowing and being in a position to actually say that.
Yeah, letting the relationship breathe. That's what I feel like. Sometimes when you're together on a regular basis, it's like it just can feel
very smothering.
Yeah, and so just really allowing that coming together and coming apart, and just really allowing the relationship to flow and to breathe.
Yeah, I think, and that's what the word I was going to use. I think it literally keeps a beautiful flow as to missing somebody, being together with somebody, missing somebody, being together with somebody, and also not feeling that you have to do everything with that person. You know what I mean? There has to be some leniency as to that person allowing you to be with your friends, and the guy understanding that she needs girl time too, or family time, or whatever it is, but everybody needs their time, and then the time together. To me, that's just my thought.
Well, if somebody has done their internal work and they understand themselves, they have things that are important to them that they participate in, whatever it is, whether it's a craft, or it's music, or it's some type of physical activity. They've usually established something in their life that just really lights them up, that is uniquely theirs. Now, their partner may enjoy that. Like, so for example, we love hiking. It's something that has really been amazing for our relationship. And you do that on your own, or you do that with other people as well. We don't always do it together. So even if you have common interests with your partner, it doesn't mean you have to always do it together. Really having that separation really does create a really healthy relationship.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So thoughtfulness. You mentioned thoughtfulness, and that's something that I feel like for me personally, when I experience thoughtfulness from you, it really helps me to want to even do more. So it's this beautiful process where when somebody is thoughtful, it just makes you want to be more thoughtful. So then it just becomes this constantly, how can I reciprocate this? How can I give this back to this person? Whether it's in a love relationship, a friendship, a coworker, it feels good when somebody's thoughtful. And it doesn't have to be buying something extravagant. Once again, like, gifts aren't a big deal to us personally. So it can be something so simple as just, opening a car door. And that's something that you are like religious about. I maybe have tried opening a car door, not consciously. And yeah, you don't like that at all, which I love that.
Don't ever do that.
Just that old fashioned gentleman is so important to me. Opening up doors for a woman is like, it's so sexy. And that's thoughtful. It doesn't cost any money. But just when a man does that for a woman, once again, it creates that safety for her. She knows that he's got her, he's taking care of her. When a woman feels safe, she opens.
Exactly. And I mean, when it comes to that, the one thing that I want to tell men right now is just the word itself. Think of that word, thoughtful. You are thinking of the person that you are in love with. You're thinking of your partner. So in that sense, know your partner. You really have to get into the nitty-gritty of knowing everything about your partner. Know their likes and their dislikes, all the way down to everything, the smallest little detail. And as you go around through your life with that person, it's fun to be thoughtful. It's fun to think of things and think of different ways how you can be almost sneaky, or just a gentleman in general, to make them feel good. And it's not all just to get a reaction. It makes you feel good. being thoughtful to your friends, being thoughtful to your family, being thoughtful to the woman you love, that makes you feel good about being you, and that's the thing. When you're thoughtful in the right way, and the right thing is behind it, the look that you get, that you receive at that moment, is worth it all. It's literally worth it all. And then on top of that, when they start to give it back to you and then some, that creates such a bond between the two of you that it makes love easy. It literally makes love easy. And what to me, what is more fun than thinking of ways to be incredible and love the woman that you're allowed to love. I mean, we've waited our whole lives to meet our soulmate. Why not give 110% as to making them feel like they are the number one person in your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one thing I want to just share again is that we keep saying woman, man, because that's the relationship that we're in, but this is literally for any type of relationship. Yes. And it's super important that these are a part of any type of relationship. And and there's probably more than what we're going to be discussing on the podcast. But another one that I would love to touch on is two things, and I feel like they go really well together. You mentioned play, and I don't know if you mentioned intimacy, but intimacy as well is so important. And with intimacy, a lot of people think that that's sexual. It is, and it's so much more than just sex. It's really creating such intimacy, such connection, a deep connection with each other. So intimacy can be having a conversation where you just sit and you're just being so intimate with each other with whatever it is that you're talking about. Intimacy can be just holding hands and looking up at the clouds as you're, walking at the park. It can be in the bedroom as well, but that is so important. And the only way that intimacy is going to thrive in a relationship is if all the other things that we've talked about is a part of the relationship always. So having that healthy communication, having understanding their love language, meeting that, really creating safety for a woman so that she can open. What were some of the thoughtfulness? All of these things are so important, because when all of that's there, then you want to be intimate with your partner. You want to connect with them. If they're being an asshole to you, the last thing you want to do is connect with the person, unless you have a toxic relationship. And that's what actually fuels you, is having this argument. And now we get together and then we create intimacy, but that's toxic and it's not healthy. And it causes a lot of drama, and it creates some really intense energy, but it's not fun. And that gets tiring. So there's another way to go about being intimate with each other, which is being so proactive with really making your partner feel loved.
I mean, one of my favorite intimate things to do, and she knows this, is just take a walk and hold hands. Taking a long walk wherever it may be and just holding hands. And
we
to
don't
me,
walk anywhere without holding hands or having my arm wrapped on your arm. Even when we hike, a lot of times we'll end up holding hands. It's not always convenient. So I guess most of the time when we're hiking, we're not, but there are times where we'll hold hands. And that's it. We're just always creating intimacy in all ways, whether it's in the bedroom or it's, just in public places or with family members. We're always creating that connection.
And then when it comes to play, that goes along with, when I told her I was 8 years old to the day I die. I mean, to me, play. She has hula hoops. Did I hula hoop as a child? A little bit, not a ton. But when she pulls out the hula hoops, I'll hula hoop all night long.
We go to
What's not fun about hula hooping? I mean, when we're hiking on a trail, she'll look up at me and I'll start skipping to a la-di-da song and just start singing like zippity doo-dah song or something like that. And I'm skipping because at the moment it's fun, it's play. I mean, you just have to keep some spice in there, some fun, it lightens everything up. Day-to-day life in general can be taxing. We have jobs, we have life, we have our matrix all around, all the different things, the bills. And to me, just in general, play, it always keeps you young. I mean, I'm 3 years from being 50 years old, and I feel like I'm literally 8 years old all the time still. I still have such a young mind. And, you help me stay in that zone. You know what I mean? Because you love
I
playing
love
too.
it. I celebrate it. That's like, well, we're so similar. Our very first vacation together, we went to California, and I brought my roller skates, and you brought your longboard, and we went down the boardwalk and cruised and skated our hearts out. And that's so fun.
It's actually our favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I wear my hair in moon buns all the time, and just anything to really tap into our inner children and into our own play that just really lights us up. It creates presence, it creates connection, it creates fun, it creates love. It's just, there's so much medicine in play that unfortunately we live in a society where people just think that once you turn 18, you need to get serious, and then you get a job, and then life is boring and you just pay bills. And I'm not for that reality at all. It's like, check me out. I'll be done with the earth experience if that's what it has to be. And it doesn't have to be that way. It literally gets to be whatever you want it to be. And why not have play? When anything that we do, when we go to the beach, we're playing, what's that ball? Paddle ball. Yeah. We're just, anytime that we can, we're playing as much as possible, because that really creates such a lightness in our relationship, and a way to be able to connect with each other and just have fun.
Yeah. Even with the kids. I mean, when we have a family night, we play games. We sit down and we play hours and hours of games, and we laugh and we make fun of each other, and we have a great time. And it's, it really is. It's, and the word that you use that I absolutely love is inner child, because truly, if you only concentrate on the aspect of bills and work and all the things in your day-to-day life, that inner child in you starts to die slowly. And, one of the things that keeps us the youngest in general in our life is the inner child in us. And we all have it. The question is, how much do we suppress it? And why do we suppress it? And to me, I literally unleash it as much as possible. And, if you are right with your right partner, they are going to reciprocate in that same way. And they're not going to make fun of you. They're going to laugh with you, and they're going to end up playing. And it's going to be
right in.
It's going to be incredible.
Yeah. I feel like the only other thing, unless there's something else that you want to add, that as far as what I feel like has been really beneficial for us in our relationship, is just exploring nature, just really being a part of nature, and just having opportunities to be together where it's so simple. It's just driving to a mountain somewhere. We live in Arizona, so we're close to Sedona, and that's such a gift, because Sedona is just pure magic, and we go there on a regular basis. Obviously when there's like certain, if it's too cold, that's just something I don't like to do. But whenever weather permits it, we're on a mountain and we're hiking. And that's been so incredibly amazing for our relationship, because phones are put away. It's just you and I. We might have a little bit of music playing, and we bring some food and we sit and we're just connecting and we're laughing and we're talking. And it's medicine for a relationship, just to get outside, be in nature, and be together.
And I feel like that sometimes has led us to some of the best conversations we've ever had.
Oh my gosh.
When it comes to some of the deepest realizations that you might have in your life, with your partner's help and direction to that, that's a beautiful place to do it, because as you speak, you're looking at trees, you're looking at energy everywhere, you're looking at mountains, you're just, and even if it's not mountains, even nature could be a path. If you're in the Midwest, a path that's just in the forest. I mean, trees in general are energy. So you're taking on this positive energy from all this nature anyways. And we're better to have a good, deep conversation about things that are going on in your life. And, maybe that we're stuck in something and we're navigating a little something, and, you just need a little push in the tushy a little bit to get going. But that's, it's usually a beautiful place to not only have a beautiful moment, but also, have beautiful conversations and just be open as to, as you're with your partner in general.
Yeah, it can really cleanse and clear your energy. We live in a society and a life where there's just so much noise. I'm just talking about people in general. And there's so much noise. There's social media, there's work, there's traffic, there's all this stuff that's going on, TV, there's so much noise, and it can be overwhelming and stressful, and it can create a really intense disconnect with your partner, with yourself, with it's not good. And so when you unplug from all of that and really clear that out from your experience for a day or a weekend, it doesn't have to be a whole weekend. We'll just do it for a couple of hours, where we'll go hike a mountain or go to Sedona for just, half of a day.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this, got to get it on my calendar type of a thing and plan this months in advance.
The amount of time.
It needs to be a priority. It needs to be a part of your life. And as you do that on a regular basis, you're going to feel your system be so much lighter. You're going to feel less stressed, less overwhelmed, and more connected, because nature is medicine. And when we put our feet, I actually hike barefoot. When we put our feet on the ground and when we connect and hug the trees, it really does reset our energy and then just creates more connection. It slows us down, helps us to breathe, helps us to remember why we're even here. We're here to have fun. We're here to connect. We're here to play. We're here to have relationships. And all the noise is noise.
Yeah. I mean, with these different things that we've spoken of today, it can take a lot of pressure as to the hard part of relationships, which if you are doing it correctly, a relationship should not be hard. A relationship should be loving. It should be fun. It should be growth. It should be partnership. It should be all the different adjectives that create and personify a bond between two humans that want to grow together, and to me, in that sense of that communication, that everything we've spoken of is why this relationship is just absolutely magical, absolutely magical to me.
Do you feel like there's anything else that you would want to share? Do you feel like we got pretty much the big main topics?
I'd say the big things. I think the only thing maybe we didn't touch on was maybe that, knowing our triggers and stuff like that. And I mean, just in that sense of just, looking internal and what in my life has brought me to a place when somebody says something, it makes me react. And I've talked to many, many men, many women that will say, well, my partner said this, and then I just went off on them and I didn't even know why.
And they triggered me.
And that's the thing, is really taking the time. That goes back to finding that self-love of really figuring out your triggers as to what makes you tick, and then knowing that if somebody hits that trigger, your triggers. So then instead of reacting to that trigger, stepping back very quickly is one thing that I always tell people: step back very quickly and feel into this. Like, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling heated. I'm feeling like my old self is about to yell. I'm feeling I may raise my voice. To me, if I ever raised my voice, I would not have this anymore. And in that sense, it's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing, because it really prepares me so that if anything comes up, I really need to feel into it. And what am I angry about this? What is the trigger inside of me that makes me react this way? Was it my mom when I was young? Was it my mom not being there when I was young? Was it my dad when I was young? Was it my friends? Was there something in my life that brought this feeling in that gives me this trigger as to why I have a reaction? And then when you truly understand that trigger, there's no reaction anymore. It's more of a feeling and
a conversation.
And then we go right back to that word communication. Now we're communicating about something and you're explaining, you know what, you just hit a trigger of mine. Now, what you said, if it keeps coming up in our future, will keep triggering me, and I don't want to have reactions. And I might not be able to stop myself every time, but I want to be able to. And allowing your partner to feel that, and your partner in the communication sense, listens and says, okay, you know what? I know my partner. I know their childhood, and I know where that trigger comes from. That totally makes sense. So I understand that, and I'm going to refrain from bringing up that subject again in that way. We're going to bring this up in a different way, and we're going to progress from this situation. So I mean, I feel like probably the last thing that I would have said was just really knowing your triggers as to what gets you fired up. Because I mean, a lot of couples that I know, there's yelling involved.
Yeah.
And I don't think most of the time that you're even yelling at the person that is involved in
No,
it.
it's never is.
You're literally yelling at yourself. You're yelling at the situation that you lived through.
Yeah.
And it just hits that nerve
Just
where
activate.
where we don't have control at the moment, which we have control of everything.
Mhm.
That's just a cop out. You have
Mhm.
control of everything.
Mhm.
So take the time to slow everything down,
Mhm.
feel into that and say, what is this? What am I feeling right now? Am I available for this feeling? Do I want to feel this way anymore? No, I don't.
It's taking radical responsibility
Yeah,
of your experience.
Yeah.
And that's, you're so right. We don't have control over what's going to happen to us, like in our environment. But what we do have control over is what we choose to feel and how we choose to react. And the only way you can do that is having just this intense amount of internal self-awareness of yourself and taking radical responsibility of what your activations are, what your triggers are, and what your needs are. What are your boundaries? Speaking those, but not projecting your experience and your trauma onto the person just because they did a thing. The thing might not be okay. And so then you get to communicate that to them.
Yeah.
But something that was so funny in the beginning of our relationship, because anytime that we would get into just like a conversation around something that maybe had activated me, I pause, I sit, and I'm reflecting, and I'm figuring it out within myself, because I know that this is mine. Whatever is happening here, whatever I'm feeling, this is mine. I've got to hold this and own this. And why is it coming up? Like, what is the situation that just happened, creating this activation in my body? And then once I've been able to process through that, then I speak it to you, because I don't want to speak to you from the place of my part and from the place of my trigger, because then I'm going to say things that are not true or hurtful. And that's like, and so it takes discipline to be able to do that.
And patience.
Yeah.
And that's the thing on a male side of that, is having the true patience as to wait it out. Don't sit there. And if your girl is literally doing what you're doing and feeling into it, and you're like, give me a second, let me feel what I'm feeling. Well, come on, babe. Like, no, it's having true patience in the relationship. That's probably the last adjective, the last word I could use.
And
true patience.
And on that same note, for the woman, a lot of times what a woman will do is be passive aggressive, and she'll shut down from the man. And so she'll give him the silent treatment. It's not that. It's not the silent treatment. It's a full presence with you, but just allowing myself to just process what's happening, so that then I can reflect it and speak my needs, speak my experience as mine. And not, there's no silent treatment. There's none of that. There's none of those games, because it's a game, and it's all coming from wounds, and it's just annoying. That kind of stuff is annoying. So yeah, I love that you brought that up, because just really owning your triggers and your activations are so important, because it's not about the person.
No,
it's not about them.
And it goes back into the assumptions. Don't ever assume.
Yeah.
When they are silent. Don't ever assume this is what she's thinking. Don't ever assume, this is where we go again. Don't assume anything.
Yeah.
Just be patient with information.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient with information.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as hard as it actually seems.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love you. Oh, it's so good, babe. So good. I know that we're going to be doing a lot more. We have so many things that we want to talk about, and we can definitely talk more on relationships as well, because there's just so much that we're passionate about, that I think are important topics to talk about. It's just something, unfortunately, that is really hard for people to navigate, and it really just starts with, you got to do your own internal work. And that's why it's hard to navigate. The number one.
You have to absolutely love yourself. You have to love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Just understand yourself, just really, really understand why you are the way that you are, and take ownership of the things that you're attracting in, because you don't attract anything that you're not a vibrational match to. So whatever's in your experience, you are a vibrational match to it. So own it. Decide that you're unavailable for it, make the changes within yourself, and don't continue to allow it into your experience until you eventually attract in who you are. And that's really, really what your relationship is, as a reflection of who you are.
Right.
Like our relationships are such powerful mirrors. Our family members, our lovers, our friends, our coworkers, everybody is a mirror. And so when you do that internal work, you're rewarded. And I don't believe that there is a good or bad, but we do receive what we've achieved and who we are.
Yeah.
So do
And
the work. It's worth it.
Yeah. And taking ownership is one of the most important things, not being so strong-willed where you can't look at yourself and say you're wrong. I've heard so many men that are like, oh man, she was crazy. She was crazy. Well,
what's going on? Yeah.
It's a mirror.
Yeah.
It's a mirror. So, are we that normal at the moment? Was I that normal back in the old days when I was with somebody that might have been crazy? I don't think I was, and I never really thought like that until I finally went inside and actually, came to terms with that stuff and was absolutely honest with myself. Brutal honesty literally gets you into the next step. Yeah. Yeah. So good. Thank you, babe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much. We'll see you around.